Natalia Grace, vulnerable orphan or diabolical con artist. Welcome to Crime Bites. I'm your host, Carrie Drobin, award-winning true crime author, former prosecutor, and capital defense attorney. Natalia Grace's story begins in 2008 when a girl arrives in the United States from the Ukraine. She's diagnosed with a rare form of dwarfism. Natalia was placed in foster care before an adopted family in 2010 by Michael and Christine Barnett, an Indiana couple who believed that they were adopting and bringing a child, a 6-year-old child, home to live with them. But what unfolded next would become the stuff of nightmares. The Barnetts quickly grew suspicious of Natalia. Her features and behavior seemed off. They alleged she exhibited adult-like tendencies, and in 2012, they petitioned a court to change her age from 8 to 22 years old. A judge approved the request, but was this an extraordinary act of fraud or a terrible mistake? In a shocking twist, the Barnetts moved Natalia into an apartment, cut off contact, and relocated to Canada with their own biological children. And what followed was a whirlwind of accusations and legal battles. Michael Barnett claimed that Natalia tried to poison his wife, push her toward an electric fence, and even threaten her sons, saying she'd bury their bodies under the deck. Natalia denied everything, of course, painting a vastly different picture. She claimed the Barnetts manipulated her and abandoned her despite knowing she was a child. And then a court battle in 2019 reignited public interest. Were the Barnetts neglectful parents, or were they victims of a dangerous scam? And just when it seemed that the truth might surface, another family entered the story, the Manns, who took Natalia in and later faced accusations themselves. They claimed to have rescued Natalia, but allegations surfaced that they controlled her finances and fostered children for financial gain. And in a dramatic turn, Natalia staged an escape with the help of the DePaul family, secretly leaving the Manns and beginning a new chapter of her life. But as she adjusted to her newfound freedom, her past cast long shadows. Trauma, manipulation, lingering questions followed her. Diagnosed with reactive attachment disorder, a condition stemming from years of rejection and instability, she continues to grapple with the scars of her turbulent upbringing. Yet through it all, she dreams of a brighter future, earning her GED, becoming a teacher, finding stability. But the question remains, was she an innocent victim caught in a web of deceit, or was she the architect of her own chaos? If she were indeed an adult masquerading as a child, one plausible motive might be survival. Coming from a Ukrainian orphanage, she could have faced unimaginable hardships, poverty, abuse, neglect. For someone in that position, being adopted by an American family could represent a lifeline, a way to escape dire circumstances. Pretending to be younger might have seemed like the only way to secure that chance. But here's the twist. If Natalia was telling the truth and truly was a child abandoned by her adoptive parents, her motives change. Could her alleged manipulative behavior be a defense mechanism, an expression of fear, rejection, trauma? According to experts, conditions like reactive attachment disorder can lead to clinically forming healthy relationships, creating behavior that might appear deceptive, even dangerous to others. Then there are the motives of the Barnetts and the Manns family. Why would adoptive parents insist that their child was a dangerous adult? Well, one explanation could be fear, legitimate or otherwise. If the Barnetts truly believed Natalia was not who she claimed to be, they may have felt duped and reacted defensively. Stories of thumbtacks on stairs, poisoned coffee, violent threats paint a terrifying picture, and if they're true, or exaggerations rooted in paranoia. As for the Manns family, their motives remain equally perplexing. Some have alleged that foster children as a source of income, controlling Natalia's finances and creating a dependency dynamic. Others argue that they genuinely tried to help Natalia, but found themselves overwhelmed by her behavior and trauma. So how can this happen? The adoption process, while rigorous in theory, is far from foolproof. Background checks are typically required for adoptive families, but the checks often focus on criminal history and financial stability. Psychological evaluations, while encouraged, aren't always mandatory, which can leave emotional and mental health issues unchecked. Moreover, verifying the age and identity of children adopted internationally can be fraught with challenges. In many cases, birth records are missing, incomplete, falsified, especially in countries with limited resources or corrupt institutions. For Natalia, who reportedly had no verifiable documentation of her age, these gaps in the systems left ample room for doubt and manipulation. But here's the chilling reality. This case isn't just about one girl and her adoptive families. It's about systemic vulnerabilities that can turn adoption into a breeding ground for deception, fear, and exploitation. Could better oversight have prevented this? Perhaps. But then there are loopholes that are addressed, like Natalia's. They'll continue to battle and disturb us. When the lines blur between victim and perpetrator, how do we find the truth? Her story has transcended the courtroom, splashing onto our screens in not one but two gripping documentaries with competing narratives, one presenting Natalia as a victim of unimaginable betrayal, the other casting her as a dangerous con artist. On the surface, these documentaries appear to seek the truth, but they also remind us of an uncomfortable reality, how storytelling can distort the whole truth, especially when crafted for entertainment. I mean, consider the jury in a trial. Their verdict is based solely on the evidence and arguments presented in the courtroom. But here's the catch. What they hear is only a fraction of the story. Legal rules dictate what's admissible, ensuring a fair trial, but often leaving out context that might sway public opinion. Documentaries, on the other hand, are not bound by these rules. They can cherry pick moments, emphasize a certain angle, even dramatize events, creating a narrative that's compelling but not necessarily accurate. This can lead to a dangerously skewed perception of guilt or innocence. I mean, take Scott Peterson, for example. In the courtroom, jurors were presented with evidence that painted him as a cold, calculating killer. But in a documentary years later, Peterson was given a voice, a chance to share his side of the story, raising questions that had long been buried. And similarly, Natalia Grace's documentaries present dueling perspectives, one that underscores her trauma and victimhood, and another that highlights the fear and frustration of her adoptive parents. The result, a public caught between compelling truths, left to wonder what really happened. Whether in the courtroom or on the screen, the whole truth is often elusive. And what we see, hear, and feel is carefully curated, leaving us to fill in the blanks. In cases like Natalia's, the lines between fact and fiction blur, creating a narrative that's as enigmatic as the people who are at the center of it. That's it for today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review, and join me next time when I dive into another chilling tale. Meanwhile, stay informed, stay curious, and above all, stay safe.